Hey everybody, we're live. We're doing something new. How is everybody doing? It is Monday morning. My hair is so humid and hot here in Los Angeles. I legitimately don't know what to do with myself. So I'm drinking some iced coffee. And I know it's noon. It's late, but coffee nonetheless. How are you all doing? Hi Tony and Allison and Jeffrey and Lauren, Crypto Roger, HD, Abby Prince. How's everybody doing? So really, we're just going to hang out for an hour, see how you guys are handling everything. You can ask any questions. We can just chitty chat and catch up a little bit. I've got my cool shirt Kaylee made for me. You see, it's a monkey with a banana. It's being abducted by aliens. It's amazing. Oh, hi, Cassandra and Amanda. You guys rhyme. It's like Cassandra and Amanda. So yeah, Sean and I had vacation last week. We were out in Palm Springs, which I know people are like, why would you go out there? It's so hot. Because there's air conditioning and a pool. It's very different from where we are now, which is no air conditioning and no pool. So it was nice to get back just to get away for a week, and chapters left. So we're just working our way through that. Hey, everybody. It's so good. Oh, you have school. That's a bummer, Evelyn. Studio 30 Films. Hey, everybody. Iris People. Your guys' names crack me up. I love them. But anyway, so yeah, that's what we were doing last week. Sean and I were just relaxing, taking a break. And if you didn't know, if you watch our podcast, Opinions That Don't Matter, we didn't have an episode go out on Saturday because we ran out of time filming it before we left, but we filmed one yesterday and Sean got it up late last night. So if you're looking for something to distract you from the world, that is live now. Oh, hi, Billy. And Lydia Art. Hey, everybody. Kira from the Netherlands. So many people are here. So we'll just, I usually do these live streams on Patreon. It's been a while since I've done one on YouTube. So if you have questions, I don't know, how does this, you guys just ask them in chat? Is that how it works here? I think so. So yeah, we'll do that and just hang out. I'm trying to think of what else has been going on. Oh, I have a podcast, Ask Katie Anything, too, if you're looking for more of this type of content, long-form chitty chat. And yeah, we're just doing our thing. I also am working on some very exciting things when it comes to merch. I want you to stay tuned, and then also potentially new types of content on the channel that I'm very excited about. But I can't really tell you much about anything yet because nothing is happening yet. But I had a really good meeting this morning. And so I'll keep you guys posted, but very excited about a lot of different things. Hi, Turin. And Katie K. I see Pearly. Hey, everybody. So many people. It's just crazy. Okay. Oh, what's on tap? This is a cold brew. It's Chameleon Cold Brew. It's my favorite. But I love the caramel one. And I don't know why, since COVID hit, we've only been able to get the vanilla, which is just a little bit more bitter than I'd like. But it's delicious. It's just not my favorite. Yeah, okay, so I'll read some of your questions. Let's just get into this because we're already 5 minutes in. So we're actually 3.5 because the computer started freaking out right before I was. So I was like, Sean, help me. And then he fixed it. So, oh, hi, Michelle from Singapore. Okay. Kira says, I want to start a YouTube channel about my mental health journey. How do you balance feeling too much about people in your life to relevant info for a story? That's a great question. I always go back to, there's a couple of things. So when we're sharing stuff online about ourselves, I want you to know, or I want you not to give people, I always talk about, give people, okay, I'm back. I said my internet was the connection was weird. So that's interesting. But anyway, don't give people the bullets to kill you. So don't give them information that you would later not want out there. So I always want to tell people that because sharing your story can be powerful, but I don't want that to be to your own detriment later where it like hinders your recovery or hurts relationships or things like that. And then when it comes to sharing stuff about other people, I would always change names and change details. So if you're talking about your dad, you might just say your cousin or your uncle. I would just mix it up mainly because even though people can be dirtbags and garbage humans, we don't want to ruin someone else's life in order to help others better understand theirs. Does that make sense? Like if we're sharing a story to process our own, we can talk to me, but Doing it publicly, I always think is a little bit tricky, unless like, hey, if you were abused and they were already, convicted and all sorts of stuff, like you can share information. But sorry, I have the windows open and the door open because it's hot. So you might hear some car action. But anyway, those are kind of my thoughts about it, is like, you can share it if you want, but just know that like you can't take that back. And if it ruins, I wouldn't want to ever ruin someone else's life, stuff about ourselves that we don't want them to know. Why is it so strange? Okay. Oh, video SAR says, how do you refocus when you feel your mental health going downhill and you can't get yourself back to doing the things that you knew you had to do, like exercise, hobbies, getting outside for a while? I think honestly, there's a couple of things. The starting small. So sure, there are these things that feel overwhelming and too big right now. Let's start with things that we can do. And I think the basic taking care of ourselves, and that will help us refocus. So those are things like making sure that you shower. I know a shower can change your life, I swear. So, showering, making sure that we're eating like a balanced meal, healthy, because I think people put too much, so much judgment around food when, hey, it should just balance. We should be eating a variety of foods, fruits, vegetables, meat. If you're not a vegetarian, eat a variety. But you should be eating every 3 to 4 hours so that you're being fed. You should be getting enough sleep, drinking enough water, just basic care for ourselves. Maybe taking vitamins or taking your medication if you have medication that's prescribed to you. Maybe that means we lower our alcohol intake. There are certain things that we should do to take care of ourselves first. Then we can try getting into the other things, and make sure these little things we're going to try to do are small things. Meaning we should start with like, I'm going to a book. I'm going to get the book out and I'm going to read 2 pages, knowing that that's pretty easy for us and easy to accomplish, because having that kind of accomplishment empowers us and motivates us and keeps us going. So instead of, having to jump into all these things at once, let's pick one thing, make it really small, tangible thing you can do in a day or do in an hour, and do that thing. And I really think that will help keep you going, help you refocus, help you get back into it. But really that basic self-care stuff is key. I find when we're kind of going down like a depression spiral and feeling shittier and shittier, the basic self-care goes out the window first. So checking back in with that and doing it will really, really help. Oh, Iris says she got your OTDM merch today and I love it. Yay, I'm so glad. Yes, we have new merch stuff. Sean is still working on other merch things. It's just Sean and I. We really should hire someone to help us with things. But he's been working really hard on that stuff, and I'm really glad that you like it. Okay, BC asks how to stop rumination. Now, if you don't know what rumination means, rumination is just when we like think, overthink, rethink, think something over and over and over and over and over and get nowhere. And the truth about rumination is anxiety loves it, depression loves it, and it just spins us out of control. And the best thing we can do is thought stop. Now, thought stopping techniques can be varied, but the one that works best for me is actually just saying stop, either in my head or out loud until the like spiraling thoughts stop. And then I pull my brain into a more emotionally charged, happy memory. So whether that's like, I remember when Sean and I went to Paris last October when we could travel for my birthday, and I always wanted to go, and it was like a dream of mine, and it was so exciting, and the city was beautiful, and the food was good, and everybody was friendly, right? So you pull your brain out of ruminating destructive thoughts into positive, happy thoughts. That can really help. And then also, another thing that I was reading about, for my book, I was reading about cognitive behavioral therapy when it comes to trauma, when it comes to managing kind of the like obsessional flashback thoughts, all sorts of things that can come along with trauma, and stopping our brain from doing that. And one of the CBT tools that they talk about is playing it out. Like when it comes to worry thoughts, if your rumination is based on worry thoughts, like what if, it could be, oh my God, I can't, what if this happens, yada, yada. Then we can do, you can play it out. So like, okay, if my worry thought is, I'm going to totally fuck up that thing I have to do at school tomorrow or work. My presentation at work is going to go terrible. Okay, so if that happened, then what? You just kind of play it out. Okay, so let's say it went bad, then maybe my boss would be disappointed and I might get reprimanded, or I might not get the bonus that I thought. Okay, But can I afford my bills now? Yes, I can. Okay, so even if that happened, what would be the worst, right? So you try to think out like the worst case scenario, or allow it to play out, and then you recognize that, okay, maybe it's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. That sometimes works too. So that's like, a couple of other, a couple of ways to try to stop that rumination. Okie dokie. How to not procrastinate, Emily Smith is asking. The best way to not procrastinate is truthfully to set very small, achievable goals. Kind of back to what I was talking about from that question that we received from Videozar, I think was the name. They said that, we're talking about like getting restarted, getting refocused. When it comes to procrastination, a lot of times we have these huge to-dos and we just keep putting them off because they seem overwhelming. But if we start with small, tangible tools and then reward ourselves. So I'm a huge I love reward. So I've been writing a book for most of quarantine. I think I started in like April. So when I finish a chapter and I've successfully edited it and I've gotten it off to my editor, then I reward myself with something. That could be something as simple as I'm going to order dinner in tonight. Or it could be something like I'm going to take off the rest of the day. Or it could be something I want to buy, right? It could be like I want to get a new dress or a new lotion or anything like that. Oh, wow, Maria. Thank you so much. Oh, I love the little maraca man. If you have a question, you let me know. That's so kind of you. Thank you. Thank you. You're the best. So anyway, I think that setting those little small goals with rewards will help you get out of that procrastination mode. And then I even reward myself. Sometimes I'll be like, hey, if I finish preparing this video today, then I'm going to let myself watch 2 Law and Order SVUs. So setting up those like little bits of things I can do and then rewarding me for a thing. So try that and let me know if that helps. Because I think often when we're procrastinating, we look at these big things and we're like, oh, it's just so much. How would I even know where to start? Oh, hey, Karen. Yay. She joined the bi-weekly journal prompts. And so anyway, that kind of helps. And I do want to let you guys know, I know a lot of people, Sean has told me that he's been getting some comments and emails from people about the journal prompts. Now, if you are a part of the journal prompt club, it used to be texting. I just whacked my fingernail onto the table. It used to be, I would send texts out, but now, oh, thanks, Passion76PJ. I'm so glad the videos are helpful. Yay, thanks for tuning in. And thank you so much for the tip. You guys are so sweet and thoughtful and caring. That's really nice. But for the journal prompts, I send them out on Tuesdays and on Fridays, and they go under my channel's community page. Now, the community tab, so you go to my Kati Morton channel, and then it'll usually say, like, I think it's like videos about community. Just hit the community one. They'll be in there. You can filter for bi-weekly journal prompts. You can do like a drag down on the right-hand corner, and they'll all pop up. And they're all over the place. Depends on what I'm thinking about. Like, I'm on vacation, so I'm like, how are ways that you take care of yourself? That's how you can find those journal prompts. And it's $5 a month. You get 2 a week. I'm sure some journal prompts resonate with some of you more than the others, but that's what that is, and that's where you find them. I know some people have had trouble finding them, so I wanted to at least let you guys know how to find them. Okay, Manon says, my girlfriend told me that talking about how bad I'm doing is too much for her. My biggest fear is being a burden, and for support and assistance, like, hey, things have been being bad, like they've been bad for a while, and I feel like you've been kind of depressed for quite a few months, and maybe you should start to see someone. And every time they offer like, hey, I don't think I can handle this on my own because I'm not a mental health professional, then we continue to say no to the ideas of getting other help, and we continue to tell them about it. And that's actually not going to be helpful. And that can erode your relationship because you're putting all this weight onto them, which is fine if they're fine with it. But if they're telling you, hey, I can't handle this on my own, I think you need to see a professional as well, that's something that we have to be open to considering. Because when someone tries to offer support and help and we won't take any of their ideas, it becomes kind of what I call like a emotional black hole, where they're dumping all this energy and emotion into us and to helping us, and we aren't accepting any of it. It's just being sucked away. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense, because I think a lot of us can get caught in that cycle because it's hard to reach out for help and it's scary. But we cannot expect those in our lives, our girlfriends, boyfriends, friends, parents, anybody, to hold the whole weight of our mental health struggles. that's where professionals come in. And that's why there's amazing tools, whether it's there's Teledoc that people are utilizing. If you have a therapist and you wanted to get, in contact with them, you can do phone sessions with a therapist. And this is if like your area isn't allowing in person. There's Talkspace, there's BetterHelp. There's also crisis text line you can reach out to. 7 Cups is another resource. If you have any others, put those in the chat there. But that would hopefully help. Because, and you just have to keep communicating with your partner, and you have to be able to hear them as well. When they're saying that it's too much, that means that we need to get some other support too. They can't be our only person. And I know that's hard to hear, but we need to have a lot of different people to help support us through tough times. And that's just part of what people are able to handle. And, we need to get different perspectives. Okay, let's see. Is this a question? Well, welcome to Bi-Weekly Journal Prompts. My girlfriend told me I'm talking about how bad. Okay, too much for her. Is that all of them? How come I lost one? Let me scroll back up, you guys. Sorry, I don't know why it loses some of them, because I feel like there was one. Okay. Oh, okay. Nicole Kate says, I'll be going on a date for the first time in 5 years and I'm freaking out. Have complex PTSD and panic attacks and want to, but freaking out. A lot of it's like talking yourself through it and having some ways to calm yourself down. A lot of anxiety comes out of like lack of confidence. And so I would encourage you to start talking more kindly to yourself. Maybe at the end of each day, come up with 1 or 2 things you like about yourself. Imagine maybe if you can't come up with it yourself, imagine what a best friend would say to you or a parent. They can assist in that. And then having some calming things that are soothing. What helps your system? Do fidget toys help? Do breathing exercises help? Can we have some mantras we repeat in our head? I have a ton. If you want to watch one of my videos, it's called, just get on YouTube and put Kati Morton coping skills. I have a video with 24 coping skills, but the 25th comes from the audience. So that means the comments are filled with a ton of coping skills. And those can maybe be some resources for you as you manage some of the panic and the PTSD like symptoms, that anxiety, that on edge, hypervigilance. It could hopefully help you manage all of that so that you can get yourself up to going on a date and feeling okay. And a lot of it's just practice makes perfect. We have to do it and recognize that the world's not going to crumble. We're going to be okay. Somebody shared. Okay, cool. I have to show that. It says it's one of the text lines and stuff. Somebody joined the Bi-Weekly Journal Prompt. Yay, Lynn Samfortis. I don't know if I'm saying that right. But yeah, it can be hard. Going on dates after a long time is scary. But I would also encourage you, do you remember I was talking about play it out, that CBT technique where you're like, okay, what's the worst thing that happens? It doesn't go well. It's the worst thing that happens and we leave. Is that really the end of the world? No, it's not actually that bad or scary. Yeah, so keep that in mind. It'll be okay. Yeah. Oh, thanks, Karen. Karen says those coping skills are super helpful for the madness we're in at the moment. It's just been a crazy time. And I know everybody's feeling like things are a little or a lot out of control. And that's why, like, I really believe people are being more angry online, and people are like, Sean and I drove out to Palm Springs, like a 2-hour drive, and people are driving like maniacs. And like, we all just my goal right now is to just be more kind to people that I come in contact with, because everybody's in it, everybody's going through it. And we have to find ways to soothe our system. So whether that's a bath, whether that's watching your favorite show, something that's comforting, whether that's making a food that's comforting, talking, the connection is the true antidote. If you haven't watched my videos about the coronavirus and just dealing with the anxiety and panic, connection is the true antidote. So if that means the Zooming, FaceTiming, calling, texting does not do the same. I know, I'm sorry, it sucks. But, yay, Jen Rocks. Hey, good to see you. I'm glad you like the live streams. And Carly Mills, welcome to the Bi-Weekly Journal Prompt. Hey, Awkward Butterfly, I'll answer that question in just a second. So anyways, I really think that like finding connection in people that we care about, who care about us, is really powerful. So making time for that hopefully will help you guys. Okay, Awkward Butterfly says, I have DPDR, which if you didn't know is depersonalization derealization. It's a dissociative disorder. And anxiety. Any tips for driving anxiety? I haven't been able to drive for months without having a panic attack or feeling out of it. Honestly, the best the best way to deal with that is we're not going to drive right away. First, I want you to find some things that calm you down. Like I'm talking about, is it stretching? Is it a hot bath? Is it talking to someone caring? Is it a fidget toy? Is it breathing exercises? Is it a weighted vest or weighted blanket? Those things can be very helpful. Is it like sometimes people love playing with their hair, just doing that on your scalp can feel really good. Does that help? There's a lot of different things we can do. I want you to find at least 3 things that can help calm you down. I want you to build on this list, okay? One of the things, honestly, that calms me down is coloring, like a coloring book with like kind of that textured paper, the way the crayons hit it, super soothing. I don't know. You find what works for you. Try a bunch of different things. Some people say knitting. There's all sorts of things. Oh, thanks, Katie K. So finding things that calm us down. And then I want you to start visualizing yourself driving. And then I want you to use those tools to calm yourself down. I want you to keep doing that. Imagine yourself getting in the car in as much detail. Close your eyes, getting in the car. I'm starting the car. I'm putting it in drive or getting my stick shift, whatever, imagine putting seatbelt on, all the things. As much detail as possible, imagine yourself driving. Then I want you to get out of your house. I want you to get in your car. And then I want you to use the things to calm you down. We're just going to build. We're doing like exposure therapy slowly. And then I want you to get in your car, start it, back it up, and then pull it back in. I want you to calm yourself down. We're going to build. And then, then maybe get out and drive around the block and come back. And we're going to slowly build it because we have to prove that it's not as scary as we think it is, because there's actually nothing scary about driving. You're going to be okay. However, our brain doesn't believe that. And so it's sending us into panic. And so we're going to have to, have to prove it wrong. But it gets better. You got this. Okay. Andrea asks, is it okay that my therapist cried 2 times in a row? I mean, I think it's okay for a therapist to cry in session. Sometimes we're human too, right? And if you're working through something that's really difficult and you have a great close relationship with them, I think it's okay. However, I really do think that just the only check-in would be, are the boundaries in place? Are the boundaries okay? So boundaries meaning, do I have access to my therapist 24/7? Because you shouldn't, unless it's an emergency or you have to reschedule. You shouldn't have access to them all the time. Sorry, putting on my chapstick. So there's that. And then also, they shouldn't be oversharing about their own personal experience. Other than that, I think, Sarah. Hey, Sarah. Thank you so much. That's really sweet. And Carly says exposure therapy is great. So hopefully it helps the person who asked the question about driving. Butterfly, I think it was. Awkward butterfly. Anyway, that's all. I think it's fine that your therapist cried 2 in a row as long as those boundaries are in place. And I have a video if you're worried. I have a video about how to know if you're seeing a good therapist, how to know you're seeing a bad therapist. And I think I have one about boundaries in therapy and ethics in therapy. So there's quite a few videos you can watch if you're interested. But that would be, those are my thoughts about it. Okay. Kath16 Red says, how can I tell if I have an eating disorder? No one in my family believes me. Well, it doesn't matter if anybody in your family believes you, because they're not you. And the real way to know if we have an eating disorder is, do we spend 75 to 90%, just most of our thoughts is usually what I tell my patients. I'm like, are most of your thoughts filled with thoughts of food, getting food, eating or not eating food, exercise, any kind of compensatory behavior, finding ways to purge, whether that's through laxatives, through vomiting, through exercise, any of those things. Are our thoughts filled with that? If the answer is yes, and most of our time during the day is filled with that, so much so that if we're having a conversation with someone, we honestly can't even know what they're talking about. We're not even paying attention. We're not even present. We'll read and reread things. There's a lot of things like that. And if that's happening to you, it is an eating disorder. Please talk to someone. We don't have to wait until, okay, the chat's coming again. I was like, wait, did something happen? Because this happened when we were on Patreon. Okay. Get a lot of varied experience. I would encourage you to work in a hospital setting, work in like day programs, outpatient, across all different types of diagnoses or disease states. Because I've had a lot of friends who over the years have gotten really pigeonholed into one, like, oh, the first job I found was in domestic violence, let's say, and I work at this house that's like a, you know, I don't know, a halfway house for people, or like a safe place for mothers and children, or whatever. You get put into that, and then you only work with domestic violence people, you know, because that's your specialty. That's what you specialize in. And even though I started out working in eating disorders, and that is still what I specialize in, I spent many years working in the hospitals dealing with schizophrenia, bipolar, schizoaffective patients. And then I also, in my private practice, I don't only see eating disorders or, you know, people who self-injure. I also see patients with anxiety disorders, someone who's just struggling with their marriage. Like, it's important to get a breadth of education and experience. And then you get to decide what fits for you, because I never thought I'd want to work in eating disorders. One of my close friends in high school had a really bad eating disorder, and I thought it was just too close to home for me. But through working in the field of it, because it was the only job I could find at the time that paid, I put myself through school, so I needed to get paid. Then I found out how rewarding it was, and I actually found like such a passion for that kind of work. So be open to learning about different things. You may think, oh, I never want to work with kids. Try it out. I thought I wanted to work with children, and I started working with children, and it wasn't for me. So, you know, be open to that. Get as much experience as you can. I really think that that's the most important thing. And then get together with other clinicians. Start journal clubs. Start meetings every month. That's a great way to get not only referrals, but also to learn from one another and have a place to talk about difficult cases and stuff like that. Yeah, that's kind of my advice. Okay, let's see. Okay, a viewer says, I think that's a viewer says, I'm experiencing transference with my therapist. I know she's aware of it, but I'm too embarrassed to talk about it. If your therapist is aware of it, it's kind of up to them to continue to bring it up. If you're too scared to bring it up in person, maybe you can email if they allow, or text, or bring something in and read directly from it. Sometimes we can get stuff out that way because we're not judging ourselves so much for it. I think that could really help you get that across. But yeah, watch my videos on transference. See if they help a little bit. It's very common in therapy. Don't think it makes nothing's wrong with you. It's not weird. It's so common. And it's really just, it's important information for your therapy moving forward. And so I would, try to find a way. Text, email, write, and read directly from it in session. Those are things that I would try to do to get it out. So you can maybe just say it like, hey, I know we talked about transference, and I've been scared to bring it up, and you're just reading, you know, but I just wanted to bring it up now because I really want to talk about it. And maybe do it at the end of the session and hope that they bring it up next session. I have patients do that stuff all the time. We call them like doorknob confessions, when like right before they leave, they're like, oh, by the way, this happened. Bye. You can totally do that. That's okay. That's helpful. It helps, you know, at least helps you get it out however you can. Okay, Maluk, and I'm saying that wrong and I apologize, says, I was diagnosed with schizophrenia at the age of 18, the negative symptoms. Okay. And if you guys don't know, negative symptoms are like, I think of positive is when you add things like hallucinations, things, delusions. The negative symptoms of schizophrenia would be more when things are removed from your environment or removed from you. So it'd be like blunted affect. There's a lot of them. I don't want to get too much into the weeds on that, but you can look up negative symptoms of schizophrenia. So it's when something, often have a lack of facial expression. Yeah, so that's when blunted affect means we just don't show much expression. And it makes socializing difficult. How can I stop having a bland face? I have a lot of patients who are on the autism spectrum, so ASD, have autism spectrum disorder. And something that I have them do is watch television. And I don't specialize in ASD, so you might want to look into that. I know you have schizophrenia. This is an autism spectrum disorder, but there's a lot of mimicking that goes into having, when you're on the autism spectrum, and you have ASD, it's like we don't always know how to express ourselves and read other people's expressions. It can be really difficult, like body language and things like that. Just sometimes we don't pick up on it. And so a lot of it is like mimicking behavior. And so I would encourage you to like watch some television, and based on what you know is happening in the story, right? Look at the faces of the people making it. And then I would encourage you to just have your face front camera, and then you make the faces. And I know it sounds silly, but it's just a way for you to practice. It's a way for you to practice expressing yourself, and a way to understand like, hey, when I'm sad, this is how my face should feel. I know it sounds weird. I know it's not comfortable, But that's one of the ways that we can start to mimic behavior, and it can become, we can practice it so much that it becomes like something we don't have to think about that much. And so yeah, that's one way. And then another thing is tell your psychiatrist about it ASAP. So many medications make blunted affect worse. I had a patient years ago. I actually don't have a schizophrenic patient in my practice now, but I did see one for years, and he was lovely. And he had blunted affect, and it was affecting his relationship with his girlfriend because she was super emotional and he was not. And a medication change fixed it, and not like fixed it, but like he was able to emote more, and he was able to, talk to he brought his girlfriend in so we could talk about it. So there are things like that. So talk to your psychiatrist, see if that could be part of it as well. Again, it's tricky. I'm not a doctor, so don't stop your medication. Continue to take it. Talk to your doctor and see if there's something they can do. Okay, I almost knocked that over. Okay. So let's see. Pin drop guitar. Hello. So Connor, okay, let's see. Rochelle, what's the difference between a clinical psychologist, counselor, and LMFT? Oh, hey. Hello. I love the little gifts that they give you. Okay. A clinical psychologist has their PhD in psychology, meaning they went to four-year undergrad, four-year grad, gathered hours just like I did, like any licensed professional. You have to gather hours and you take your exam. And I talk about this I have a video about this. I forget what it's called. Somebody maybe link it if you can find it. It's like decoding, like what's the difference between all these things. But I also included it in my first book, Are You Okay? There's like chunks about each type of therapist or each type of mental health professional. And so they have their doctorate, and psychologists often do like work in school systems and often do a lot of testing. They can specialize in those things. A lot of them do that. And a lot of them do research. Psychologists back in the day used to be the only way to practice, whether it was clinical or research based. But now there's just so many options. So a lot of them, when they become psychologists, we can do like more research based stuff or work in school systems because they have their PhD. So that's what that is. But they could do the same thing as I do when it comes to like what you would experience if you saw them in practice. A counselor. Okay, so counselors differ because when I wrote it in my book, and one of my teachers from Pepperdine actually reached out and was like, hey, it's changed in California. So I wish I could I don't know how to, when it's a book, it's not like a video where I'm like, hey, this changed. But it's changed so that licensed professional clinical counselors in California cannot diagnose, I guess. They can just, offer therapeutic treatment, I suppose. So I thought that was really interesting. I didn't know that. I thought they could. So depending on where you're at, a counselor is someone who, will help you therapeutically. They go to a 4-year undergrad and usually a 2-year graduate program. And you take their licensing exam. If they're licensed, not all counselors are. A lot of people just call themselves counselors, which has kind of muddied the name because not everybody knows if they're actual licensed professional or not, but many are. And they'll offer therapeutic techniques. A lot of times they specialize in like a certain addiction and stuff like that. You'll find a lot of information online about how they've helped with addiction. And then as far as an LMFT, a licensed marriage and family therapist, is just a therapist. We don't call ourselves, licensed marriage and family therapist because people assume that then we only work with families or couples, and it's really just a therapist. I help you work on relationships. That's our focus, is like my relationship you have with yourself and relationship you have with other people, and how can we better manage that? How can we navigate that? How can we work through that process and get better? As opposed to like a social worker, an LCSW, licensed clinical social worker, they are focused on like your environment. So making sure that like if they're like, my friend Rocio is a social worker, and she drives around people's houses, make sure that they are getting their medication, that they have transportation to and from their appointments at the doctor's office, and all this stuff. She makes sure all the things are in place for them, and does like really quick like CBT techniques to kind of get them through. But it's mainly about support in the environment. I hope that makes sense. It's a lot. Yoro says, I skip meals and am self-conscious about body, but don't restrict. Is it an eating disorder? I mean, if you're purposely, again, back to my answer before, if you're thinking about food, how to skip meals, planning that, and thinking about food all the time and how to get away with that, then yes, it's an eating disorder. If because body dysmorphia, or like not feeling happy about the way that your body looks, is part of an eating disorder, but not always. So it's like it can stand on its own. Like body dysmorphia can be its own thing, because then we might not actually do anything related to food. And I have videos about that, so you can look up Kati Morton body dysmorphia. But if your thoughts are filled with, food, not eating food, getting food, all that stuff, then it's an eating disorder. M. Gray says, will you start an OnlyFans? I don't even know what that is, and probably not. Like I started a TikTok, and now I think TikTok's going to get canceled, so I haven't really put anything on there for like a month. It's only me, and I need to get more help in my life so that I can create more. But because I've been writing the book, everything's just kind of like been put on hold. So probably not. Okay, let's see. Ashley says, hi, thanks for all the work over the years. I want to study independently to become a psychologist. Do you know any worthwhile online programs? Oh, that's a great question. Actually, I don't. I'm sure right now there are, in California, there was a university called, is it Argosy? And I think they had a great psychology program. I feel like some of my friends went through that. But almost all universities now are doing online programs. So I would, check that out, look up online psychology, or look at schools, like graduate schools that are offering this, because wonderful universities are offering these things. And I think it would be, if you're starting your like university altogether, then I would start, your 4 years. So do like a 2-year community college and do those credits and just get your basic education, and then move into your master's or if you wanted to go farther, like to get your PhD. You can look for programs that way, but I really don't. I know all schools are online right now, so that's actually a silver lining to the COVID, is that you probably have access to whatever school you want. So yeah, just look up, what's best for psychology programs. Yeah, you can start reading about it, looking at the different reviews and things people said and all that, but unfortunately, I don't really know. It's Jessica Victoria. Hey, Jess says, what do I do when I can't physically cry, but I want to, but I can't? I tend to just scream quietly. Screaming's okay. Sometimes crying is like, I know crying is, it's like what we feel like we want to do. But the secondary emotion of being angry or maybe screaming is the only thing that we can do. And I think that's okay. We have to find a way to kind of let steam out of the pot, emotionally for a while, until then probably maybe after that we'll feel like we can cry. But I think it's okay to like journal. Or I know you actually don't like journaling. I think you've told me that. But I think talking it out, maybe it's talking to someone else about it. It's making time to scream. It's making time to talk about how sad you are. Maybe we do some art around the sadness that we feel and the urge to cry. But to cry, oftentimes we have to feel very safe and okay being vulnerable. And if we're going through something, or if we've been traumatized, or if people around our lives have been abusive, we cannot feel safe for a while, and that's okay. Not being able to cry doesn't mean anything's wrong with you. It just means that we don't feel safe to do that right now. And anger feels much safer. So scream your heart out, and just make time for that. I know that sounds weird, but that's how it is. Okay, Garrett says, is it normal after a year of therapy and battling double depression for most of my life and recently recovering from a suicide attempt, is it normal to feel extremely fuzzy, confused, and almost anhedonia? Ooh, bless you, Sean. It is normal. Okay, so because depression comes with anhedonia. So if a lot of you don't, it sounds like depression is still prevalent, Garrett, and I would encourage you to maybe either try to find another therapist, or ideally add in seeing a psychiatrist and maybe thinking about medication. I know not everybody's comfortable with medication. There are lots of options out there. I just want you to know that that is one for you as well, because if you guys don't know, some of the symptoms of depression, excuse me, anhedonia is when you don't enjoy things you used to enjoy. So like, let's say I used to love to play video games, and I also used to love to cook. And I don't enjoy any of those things anymore. I don't even want to do them. It sounds like too much work. I'm exhausted immediately. That's a sign of depression. Also, the extremely fuzzy, confused. One of the symptoms people don't talk about enough is like concentration difficulties. That's another symptom of depression, where it's like, we just can't. I can't focus. I don't know what I'm reading. I'm not listening when you're talking. And so my just briefly from reading that, my initial gut reaction, Garrett, is that I think that you're still struggling with depression, and medication can help us if we're drowning in the symptoms, right? If we feel like we just can't even get our head above water, therapy is not really helping because I can't participate because I'm too fucking depressed and too sad and too unfocused, fuzzy, all that. So medication can help us. It's like a life raft to get our head above water so that we can try doing some of the things our therapist might be telling us to do that we just can't. Doesn't mean we have to be on medication forever. It doesn't mean we even have to be on medication. I'm just throwing it out as an option to talk to a doctor and see if it's something that could work for you. And so, because it is normal, I don't want you to think that what you're feeling isn't normal, but it sounds like it's part of your depression. Like the depression is still there. And even though it might not be as extreme as it maybe felt before, we can still have what we call dysthymia, which is low-grade depression, and it's still debilitating. I have a video about that too, if you want. You just look up Kati Morton dysthymia, which is like Dysthymia, I think. If my brain is working because it's Monday, so who knows? But yeah, it's normal, Garrett, but it does get better. We just have to get you some help. Okay, Video Czar says, Maddie, oh, that jumped. Okay. Maddie Novak, what can help you from slipping back into an eating disorder? Pretty much recovering from the past 2 years, but just started college and afraid of